In the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, 21 South Korean missionaries are still being held hostage by the Taliban in Afghanistan. 2 have already been murdered. Today, Afghan President Hamid Karzai met with President Bush at Camp David to talk about the issue, as South Korea is urging the U.S. to get more involved in negotiating the prisoners' release. The question, is this kind of religious mission in this type of extremely dangerous area just too risky? Joining us now from Minneapolis is Reverend Sonny Kang, a Presbyterian pastor in California, and from Washington, James Na of the Leadership Institute. Thanks for joining us, both of you. Reverend Kang, I'm going to go to you first because I understand that you blame America for what's happening in Afghanistan right now. Explain yourself.
Well, I wouldn't use the word blame. When I was asked about my view on this, what I explained was that in new era, when there is such a media coverage in anything that happens in the world, when there is a political movement such as invasion of Afghanistan, and then the human toll is taken, and all the explanation and the views about the human suffering is seen by the world. And as a Christian churches are motivated by the compassion and love of sharing the love of Christ with people, they are going to be motivated doing these things. And so it is important, as in this new millennium for politically, that the political leadership needs to look at a new way of seeing the human toll and see it beyond merely on winning on political front. And so I was just trying to explain that's important.
Well, these were all young, brave, courageous people of faith who believed in their mission, believe in spreading the word. Now, we don't know for sure that they were proselytizing, but for sure we know that these young men and women believed that they were doing the right thing to go and help in a humanitarian way the people of Afghanistan. They all volunteered. And yet you still are, you don't want to use the word blame, but you're saying that if it weren't for our being there and our invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, and what we needed to do to retaliate after 9/11, that these people wouldn't be there. They themselves chose to do this voluntarily. Is that not correct?
Well, yes, and we know that this is not the first time this group and this church has been there. They've been there for several years, from what I understand. And as the human suffering in the world increases, the church is always going to respond. People will always respond to share what they've experienced as the love of God for them in Jesus Christ. And they are going to be motivated by the humanitarian need that's in the world. We have seen that in Katrina. We have seen that after 9/11. We have seen that after the bridge fall in Minneapolis this last week. The human suffering is often responded by the churches and the faith community as with care and compassion. And that's what they're motivated by.
Let me go to James. James, we're hearing a lot of contempt heaped on these Korean Christian missionaries. I see a lot of anti-Christian bigotry and apathy, frankly. We see it out of the left wing, not just in the U.S., but also there's been recriminations now in Korea as well. How do you explain that when it's these monstrous Talibanis who are the ones responsible for causing the suffering there in the first place?
Absolutely, Michelle. First of all, I'd like to urge all your viewers to hope and pray that the 21 brave people who are still in Afghanistan come home safely to their families. Having said that, I think it's been very clear what the thrust of the criticism has been about these Christian missionaries in Afghanistan. There has been a lot of recriminations, particularly from the South Korean government and media, that these people got what they deserved, which is outrageous. We can certainly argue about whether they were effective or whether the risk justified the gains, but I think we all know that unless we have information to the contrary, that these are brave, self-sacrificing people who wanted to go to a very dangerous place and help those in need because they were fired up by their conviction and zeal. I think such people should be applauded, and they should be called the real martyrs when they meet unfortunate death at the hands of thugs, not the kind of people who blow up pizzerias and kill children.
Now, there are a lot of anti-war activists on both sides of both continents that are, at the same time that they're blaming America for this happening, are calling on America to do something. What do you think should be done? And don't you think we have to be really careful about paying ransom, whether it's over the table or under the table, because it's just encouraged this kind of behavior to continue?
Absolutely. I think what we should also keep in mind is that it's presidential election season in South Korea. There will be a presidential election in December of this year, And I think the ruling left-wing government and the media that is influenced by the government are trying to create a fake anti-American issue here by shifting the blame to the United States when the real thugs, the real criminals in this situation are the Taliban. They are the people and their allies, the terrorist allies, are the people who captured, abducted these people and holding them for hostage. I don't understand why there's this constant desire to blame the United States. The United States did not go to Afghanistan to create disturbance and trouble. It's the Taliban that created this situation, and we helped the Afghans to liberate themselves from the oppression of the Taliban. And I think that it says a lot that even the South Korean government, which has been very left-wing, has sent a contingent of several hundred troops to aid American mission in Afghanistan.
Right. Reverend Kang, we just have under a minute left here. I think, whatever your feelings are about America and the war, the one thing that the plight of these Korean Christian hostages shows is that there is a true religion of peace, and it is the followers of this religion who went there in peace, not picking up arms or swords to try and bring help and spread their faith.
Yes, and I think the bravery of these people and the intent and the compassion that drives the people should be really recognized and should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
However,
and